Am I the a-hole for confronting my mom about how she treated me as a kid, even though my therapist told me to? My therapist told me that my mom's treatment was emotional abuse and said that confronting her about it is necessary to heal. Now my family hates me because of the day I chose. Growing up, it was just me, my mom, my dad, and my younger brother. On paper, my childhood looked pretty good. We had a house, we had food, water, electricity, we had proper clothes and played extracurricular sports. But the material stuff simply hid what wasn't there. Behind closed doors, my mom had this thing where love was conditional. And because I was raised in it straight from day one, I didn't realize how messed up it was until I started going to therapy. When I was younger, if I brought home a test with a B+, my mom would act as if she couldn't even hear me, let alone see me for a week, giving me the silent treatment because the McAllister's daughter got an A and you're smarter than her. If I started crying because I got hurt, she'd tell me to stop being so dramatic or I'll give you something to cry about. Things were especially tense for a few years between the ages of 9 to 13. My dad had gotten laid off from the plant due to cutbacks and was out of work for almost 4 years. After the EI ended, Mom had to work doubles at the hospital just to keep things going. But she always threw that in our faces by saying she was practically a single mother because Dad couldn't pull his weight. If I messed up just the slightest, it was, "Do you know how hard I work to keep this family afloat?" When I told her a kid at school was bullying me, she laughed and said, "Maybe if you weren't so annoying, people would like you more." Slowly, I just started keeping things to myself. I didn't see a point to saying anything. The worst had to be when I was 16. For weeks, I had been studying for the algebra test that is worth 50% of my grade. The day of the test, literally right before 6th period math was supposed to start, I had a random panic attack. A teacher had found me curled up in a ball on the floor of the school bathroom where I was hyperventilating. As they sat with me, they used my cell phone to call my mom. She came and picked me up, but the entire ride home was filled with, "You're embarrassing me. Do you know how this makes me look? And suck it up. Time to be a big girl." That was the last time I ever asked for any help from her in any form. 2 years later, at the age of 18, I got accepted into college and moved into the campus dorms. It felt relieving, though I couldn't quite put my finger on it at the time, and eventually we just went low contact while I told myself we just weren't that close, like a lot of people and their parents. I still got updates from my brother, though. It was only 6 months after I started college when Mom was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. She's been in and out of the hospital 6 times since and gets winded just walking to the mailbox. They're trying to manage the fluid buildup with medications, but it's getting harder as the fluid seems to be building quicker. Fast forward to 8 months ago. I had fallen into college life well. I mostly focused on my studies, keeping my grades good and steady, and I spent my weekends going out with my new friends. I barely talked to my mom anymore, but I noticed that my decisions were still being based off how she would react, and I would still go through panic attacks periodically, so I started going to therapy for my anxiety. The first 2 sessions were basic, discussing the move to college, how I felt about leaving home, how I was faring in my studies, and so on. It was on the 3rd session that my therapist asked about my childhood. I told her a couple stories, subconsciously picking and choosing my words to downplay the situation like I always do, and she just went quiet. After about a 3-second pause, she finally said, "That wasn't discipline. That was emotional abuse. And the reason you can't maintain relationships is because you were taught that love has to be earned and can be revoked at any time." The words hit me like lightning, in a painful but energized way. It hurt to hear that what my mom did was labeled as abuse, but it felt good to know that I wasn't crazy for feeling and acting the way I do. Over the past 8 months, I've been working with my therapist to rewire my brain and heal from the childhood trauma. It was last week when she said I was ready for the next step. "You need to tell your mother how her actions affected you. Not to get an apology, but to reclaim your narrative. She doesn't get to decide your reality anymore." I ended up choosing I would do it that Friday. I know it was bad timing since it was Mom's birthday dinner, but it's the only time our whole family is together, and I really didn't want to do it over the phone. I waited until after presents and cake had finished, and while everyone was talking in the den, I pulled my mom into the spare bedroom, and as calmly as I could, I said, "Mom, I need you to know that some things that happened when I was a kid really hurt me. When you would ignore me for getting a B, or tell me I was too sensitive when I was upset, it made me feel like I had to be perfect to be loved. I'm in therapy now and I'm working through it, but I needed to say it out loud to you." For a moment, she just stared at me, then she burst out sobbing. In between sobs, she rasps out, "So after everything I did for you, this is what I get. You wait until my birthday to tell me I'm a monster. I was a single mother for 4 years when your father lost his job. I was stressed. I did my best." At this point, she was full-blown wailing, so loudly that my dad heard from the living room. "What the hell is going on in here?" he said as he stormed into the room with my brother, looking all panicked, trailing closely behind him. The moment my mom heard my dad's voice, it was like all the tears just stopped. In the blink of an eye, she was right there in front of them saying that I attacked her and called her an abuser. Of course, my dad blew up at that, calling me selfish and saying, "Your therapist doesn't know our family." After going back and forth for 10 minutes and everything just getting worse, I decided to just leave. Roughly an hour after I had gotten home, my brother sent me a text with what I felt to be the ultimate guilt card, telling me I ruined the last good birthday she might have because of her health. Now she's locked herself in her room and refuses to come out or let anyone in. My aunt called me yesterday morning saying therapy is making me play the victim and that I expected better from you. My grandma called during that call, left me a voicemail telling me how disappointed she is and that you should be more understanding of what your mom went through. The thing is that my mom hasn't denied anything I said. She just keeps saying, "I did my best, and I guess I was a terrible mother then." My therapist said during our session earlier today that this is a normal reaction called DARVO, and that I'm not responsible for managing her emotions. But I feel like garbage. She is my mom, she drove me to soccer practice, she paid for my braces, she took care of me while I was sick. How could I not? So, was I wrong to confront her, especially on her birthday with her health being what it is? Should I have just kept this between me and my therapist?